Hello, welcome back to Does Hebrew Heritage Matter? This is part 2. We ran out of time on the first video, part 1, and so we're going to continue the discussion where we left off. And at this point, someone may be wondering if Scripture gives us any clues about what the Messiah looked like. And the answer is yes, it sort of does, and it certainly does. Actually, it describes how he looked at his first coming a little bit, and how he will look at his second coming a little bit, and into eternity. So let's read about it, starting in Isaiah 53. Who has believed our report? And to whom was the arm of Yahuwah revealed? Arm of Yahuwah is Mashiach. For he grew up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. So he came up as a baby. He has no form or splendor that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should desire him. Despised and rejected by men, a man of pains and knowing sickness, and as one from whom the face is hidden, being despised, and we did not consider him. So here it sounds like he wasn't a good-looking person, or somebody that somebody would desire to want to know or be with just by appearance, outwardly looks. Must have been very common. Maybe one of these photos down here that we looked at, maybe it's more appropriate then. I mean, this one here, either one of these two here, this middle one or this one, a pretty good looking guy there. I mean, I desire to know him. I mean, this one here is the black version of this picture, which is on the Shroud of Turin. He ain't that great looking in this picture, but he's not, something that would turn people off. But these ones are interesting. These are the modern ones that they came up with that we saw in part 1. These would certainly fit into that he has no form or splendor that we should look upon him. I mean, he's not like a beautiful person or well built like a body lifter or somebody, and or we would desire him, or a woman or something. I mean, how many women would go out of their way to date this guy? So that would certainly fit the bill. Let's move on. Truly, he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains. Yet we reckoned him stricken, smitten by Elohim, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our crookednesses. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We all, like sheep, went astray. Each one of us has turned to his own way, and Yahuwah has laid on him the crookedness of us all. You can looking at those pictures we just went through, especially on part 1. We've all went our way. We've all strayed for sure. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, but he did not open his mouth. Wow. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, but he did not open his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and as for his generation, who considered that he shall be cut off from the land of the living? For the transgression of my people he was stricken, and he was appointed a grave with the wrong and with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was deceit in his mouth. But Yahuwah was pleased to crush him. He laid sickness on him, that when he made himself an offering for guilt, he would see a seed. He would prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahuwah prosper in his hand. He would see the result of the suffering of his life and be satisfied. Through his knowledge, my righteous servant makes many righteous, and he bears their crookednesses. Therefore I give him a portion among the great, and he divides the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his being to death, and he was counted with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. So here it sounds like he was fairly common in stature and looks, maybe even less than average. Sure isn't what we see on the most well-known portraits of the Messiah. Let's look into, so we can find another description here. Zechariah kind of touches on it. And it shall be in that day that I seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem, and I shall pour on the house of Daud and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem a ruach of favor and prayers. And they shall look on me, whom they pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son. And they shall be in bitterness over him, as a bitterness over the firstborn. And one shall say to him, what are these wounds in your hands? And he shall say, because I was wounded at home by those who love me. And in that day his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two, from east to west, a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And they shall flee to the valley of my mountain, for the valley of the mountains reach to Atsah. And you shall flee as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah. And Yahuwah, my Elohim, shall come, all the set apart ones with you. And in that day it shall be, there is no light, it is dark. And it shall be one day which is known to Yahuwah, neither day nor night, but at evening time there shall be light. And in that day it shall be that living waters flow from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and half of them toward the western sea, in summer as well as in winter. And Yahuwah shall be sovereign over all the Eretz. In that day there shall be one Yahuwah, and his name one. Here we find out that Yahushua is Yahuwah. So he can be whatever he wants to be. He can be black, white, purple, green, polka dot, red, yellow, be brown, whatever he wants to be. So I don't think he really cares what color anybody is, but he does care what's in your heart, in your mind, and if you're obedient or not, or good or evil, and what words come out of your mouth, and how you treat others. So He's going to definitely have feet because he's going to stand on the Mount of Olives, if you take that literally. Okay. So he's going to maintain the likeness of a human being, I would think. Let's look at Psalms 22. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong ones of Bashan have encircled me. They have opened their mouths against me as a raging and roaring lion. I have been poured out like water, and all my bones have been spread apart. My heart has become like wax. It has melted in the midst of my inward parts. My strength is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue is cleaving to my jaws, and to the dust of death you are appointing me. For dogs have surrounded me. A throng of evil ones have encircled me, piercing my hands and my feet. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my remnant they cast lots. So here is a pretty sorry looking image of the Messiah, you know. I think at this point, where he's hanging on the stake, we just described his execution, it looks to be the last thing on his mind. Whether he was ugly, good looking, or whatever, doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter what we look like either. If you hung up on that skin color and nationality and Hebrew heritage and who the real Hebrews were and all this other jazz, you're losing focus of what really matters, and that is your salvation. You know, it's a race of endurance. If you noticed, all those photos we went over in part 1 are all based on paganism. Ain't none of them, not one of them, the real image of Yahusha. None. It's impossible for them to be. And so they all have halos, sunbursts, crosses, hearts, you know, fire on the heart, you know, all this stuff. The 2 fingers, hand gesture of the 2 fingers. It all reflects paganism or Satanism. Is all it is. It's all a deception and a delusion. You know. So if you're hung up on all that, you're losing focus on your salvation, because it's a race of endurance. You have to continue to love Yahuwah and love others as yourself, and stay obedient to his commands and teach others the truth. No lies. Showing people them portraits or telling them that the original Hebrews, black Hebrews, or all this and that, is false. It's false. You don't know that. Nobody does. But common sense tells us that it probably is not true. But if it is, if you're out there saying that and it is true, it doesn't fear me. It doesn't intimidate me that Yahusha or the Hebrews, original Hebrews, were black as coal. I don't care. What's the difference? What's that going to do? Whether he is or if he isn't. It's not going to do a thing for me. What's going to matter to me is if I obey Yahuwah, and I worship and praise Yahuwah with pure, perfect prayer, okay, and just hope, you know, just have that hope, you know, that he allows me to be with him for eternity in paradise. I don't care if he's black, green, purple, orange, polka dot, pink, whatever. I don't really care what color he is. Matter of fact, the way I imagine him to be is light. I imagine his face to be so bright, white, light, that we can't even look upon him or see his face unless he tones it down and lets us. So I don't know where y'all are coming from with all that, but you're going to miss the boat if you keep letting Satan distract you from the truth and what's really important. Okay? And you got it, and you need to bring people with you, even if you make it. You better have bring somebody with you. So you got to teach others. You can't just sit idly by and say, "Oh, I think I've done all I need to do," and just sit there idly by and don't care about nobody else. They get what they deserve, Or I'll tell the people that look like me, has the same color skin as me and the same color hair or same color eyes I do, but I ain't telling none of the rest of them. They get what they deserve. Well, you may just find out he may take your salvation or your place at the supper table and give it to one of those other people that you're mistreating. There is a parable in scriptures that speaks of this, in case you don't know that. These passages that we just read are depicting what or how he looked like when he came the first time. And like I said, man, why does any of this matter? There's only one reason, and that is, there's only one reason to even go over this any further, really. And that's to unveil more truth. Really. That's all. I'm just going to keep going to unveil more truth. Hopefully the scales will fall from some people's eyes and their ears will open up so they can hear and see. That's the only reason I'm going to continue here, because this really don't matter. To me, this is silliness. It's just the mind of the flesh. It's all it is. It's not spiritual at all. All right? Do you think that our inner man or our spirit has color or shape or form or physique? I don't think so. I don't think it does. And I'm just wondering if our immortal bodies will look like our carnal bodies, resemble them, or maybe they'll be just, everybody will look the same. Maybe there won't be any difference in appearance at all. Maybe we'll all look like exactly the same. Who knows? But yeah, I'm just going to continue on for that reason only, to unveil more truth. Okay. So, because truth matters. Truth matters. No matter how trivial it may seem, truth matters. Matter of fact, if you're telling, teaching somebody something, and it's 99.99% true, and only 0.01% false, it's still a lie. Okay? Because Yahuwah has no lie in them whatsoever, not even the teeny tiniest one. So truth matters. No matter how trivial it may seem, it matters. You need to learn to tame the tongue. Amazingly, Yahushua came the first time in the form of a lowly servant for atonement purposes. He humbled himself and came in the likeness of man as a servant, okay, or slave, or as a sacrifice offering. I mean, how you get much lower than that? So you greater than Yahuwah? Or are you greater than Yahusha? I don't think so. So if he was lonely enough to bend down and wash somebody's feet, no matter, and even the sick, touched the sick and healed the blind and the deaf and the ones with leprosy and all that, I don't see where we can be do anything different than that. Really. You're putting yourself above Yahushua if you are. His sole purpose was to destroy the works of the devil, which are sin and the death of mankind. At the second coming of Yahushua, his appearance or looks seemed to be quite different, to say the least. Although his first coming was all about atonement, his second coming will be all about the redemption of his bought and paid for bride, which he purchased with his own blood. Let's read about that. Read about what he will look like when he comes back for his bride. Worship Yahuwah, for the witness of Yahushua is the Ruach of prophecy. And I saw the heaven open, and there was a white horse, and he who sat on him was called trustworthy and true. And in uprightness he judges and fights. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, having a name that had been written, which no one had perceived except himself. And having been dressed in a robe dipped in blood, for his name is called the Word of Yahuwah. And the armies in the heaven, dressed in fine linen, white and clean, followed him on white horses. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron. And he treads the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Al Shaddai. And on his robe and on his thigh he has a name written, Sovereign of Sovereigns and Master of Masters. So there we go. He ain't coming back as a lowly, common servant like he did the first time. He coming back as the King of Kings, Sovereign of Sovereigns, and Master of Masters. You're going to be on a white stallion or white horse. His armies are going to be dressed in white. They're going to, and his robes going to be dipped in blood. You know, his armies are going to be on white horses, and he's coming back with authority and power. He's coming back for his property. He ain't playing. He don't care what color you are. Okay, he's coming back for you if you're his property. I hope you're starting to see how silly this is. Okay, it's all part of the delusion. Divide and conquer. You know, it's part of the devil's tactics to get your mind off of what's important and how you're supposed to be acting, and how you're supposed to be teaching others and loving others. He don't want you to do all that. Okay? He hates you. Well then, this really does, Revelation 19 seems to be describing someone totally different in appearance, doesn't it? It sounds more like the Ancient of Days rather than a lowly, humble servant, doesn't it? Matter of fact, let's read about what the Ancient of Days looks like, because that's part of this whole thing too. Okay, it's part of. I think basically that's one of the foundations of this this hypocrisy or this heresy. Okay, of what Yahushua skin color looks like, or it matters, or who the Hebrew are and stuff. They're getting a lot of that out of the Ancient of Days, you know, description of the Ancient of Days. So let's read about that. In Daniel 7, I was looking until thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His robe was white as snow, so his clothes was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like clean wool. His throne was flames of fire, its wheels burning fire. A stream of fire was flowing and coming forth from his presence, and 1,000 served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judge was seated, and the books were opened. So here, he looks as though, it sounds as though he has all white on. He's got his head, and the hair and his head was clean, looked like clean wool. His throne was flames of fire. So his hair and his whole head was white like wool. So apparently then, he must be glowing white. If his face is the same color as his hair. So if his hair is actually a white wool, you say like an afro. His face has got to be white too, just the same color. That's what it just said. So you can't put a black face on him because it doesn't say his face is black or his head is black. It says his robe was white as snow and the hair of his head was like clean wool. That's all it says. It don't even say what color it is, really. It don't even say it's white wool. It says it's clean wool. All right. So let's run back over here. Get another description of the Ancient of Days in First Revelations. It says, and I turned to see the voice which spoke with me, and having turned, I saw 7 gold lampstands, which is metaphoric for that's a metaphor for the menorah. That represents Yahusha, a menorah. And in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the son of Adam. So we know that's Yahusha now. Dressed in a robe down to the feet and girded about the chest with a golden band. And his head and his hair were white as white wool, as snow, and his eyes as flames of fire, and his feet like burnished brass, as if refined in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of many waters. So there we go. Again, it says his head, okay, and his hair. Now, so there's a distinction there. Head, this is your head. If they behead you, this whole thing here is your head, okay? It said his head and his hair. This is your hair. I don't got much here, but that a little bit. Head and hair. This could be my hair. But it doesn't say beard. It says hair. His head and his hair were white as white wool, which means it doesn't say it appeared as wool. You know, it says it was white as wool, like a white sheep, you know, a real white sheep that's cleaned up. It's very white. And then it goes on to actually define that a little bit further. So that you get it, it says as snow. Where white is white wool and as snow. And his eyes as a flame of fire. Okay, so I'm not getting it, man. I'm not seeing where he's got white afro, white beard, and a black face out of that, like y'all doing. It says, and his head and hair were white as white wool. Okay, it doesn't say it was wool or an afro or anything. It just says white wool is white. It is as white as white wool as snow. It's telling you the color of his hair. It's not telling you if it's long and straight or if it's afro or anything curly or anything in between that. No, that's just your imagination. You're making it say something you're making it say what you want it to say. You're adding. And this is Revelations. And at the end of Revelations it says that anybody that adds to these words, the plagues, it's written in this book, will be added on top of you. So you don't want to be adding nothing. You don't want to take away nothing either. Because you take away that's even worse. Because it says he'll take away your name from the book of life, of the Lamb's book of life. That's even worse. There's no adding and no taking away, man. It's all it's saying is that his hair and his head are white as wool and as snow. It's just giving you the color. So to me, what I see there is his hair is white. I don't know what the shape of it is. It doesn't tell me, and it doesn't matter. And his face, or his entire head, ears, chin, everything, his head, from your neck up, I guess, is your head. This part right here is white as snow. Now, he must be glowing. It must be a white light glowing, man. So I think that's what makes sense to me. If his hair's straight, long, short, afro, whatever, curly, but it doesn't say, and it doesn't matter anyway. But be careful about adding stuff. That much I can say. I can promise you that. You don't want to add or take away. So be careful what tame your tongue. Be careful what you're saying. Stick to what Scripture's telling you. That's the best way of doing it. They have pictures of the Ancient of Days too. Okay, they're here. I got them here somewhere. Well, actually, here's hang on a second. Yeah, here's on the second coming. There's some pictures here. Okay, so what we just read about the second coming, that's pretty close. You know what I mean? Except they've got his whole outfit here is being red. It said it was dipped in blood. So I would say blood around the bottom of the wine press, like you smash grapes. So he should be in white, and he should be red around the bottom of his garment, is the way I understand that description. But he is on white horses. His army's on white horses, and it's following him. And he has this picture in particular here. It's got him coming back down to, it looks like the Mount of Olives, so that would be correct. Out of the sky, but he's supposed to be on clouds. I guess this could be a cloud. But he's got a wand or something in his hand, maybe a rod, which would jive with it, a crown. But they got him black, as an African American would be, with black hair and black beard. So the clothes I don't think's correct, and his head is all you can really see. You can't even see his neck. I don't know if you can see that, but that should be white. When we just read, his hair and his head should be white as wool. Okay, so it don't matter what kind of hair it is, but he should be white up here. His hands and feet can be black because it don't really say. So that's improperly illustrated, if you get my drift. Okay. This one is probably closer to the truth of what we just read, except, can you see it? Except his face his head and the hair are definitely white. And he's in the white robe, and it's all his horse and all these horses and his other army is white. But what's missing on this one is he doesn't have the gold thing on him when he's not dipped. His garment isn't dipped in blood and red, and he doesn't have Sovereign of Sovereign and Masters of Masters written on his chest plate or thing up here, or his thighs, unless it's underneath his gown. But I sure don't see it written on him. Okay, so that would be improperly illustrated as well. And here's the final one. Is this one here is actually almost the best one. as far as what we just read, because his army's on white horses and dressed in white. I guess he's got on a white horse there. And look, his head and hair are white. See that? His head and hair is white right here, man. The only thing I see wrong with this picture is his robe is all, his clothes is entirely red. Look, his face like bronze, shiny like bronze. It's not showing his eyes being fiery looking, like fire. But where you don't see Sovereigns and Masters written on him either. You know, but his robe, I think, should be white with this red around where he'd been walking in the blood, the wine press of the wrong type deal. That's what it says anyway, but that could be metaphoric, who knows. But at least the face, the head, in the hair and the head are white. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what we just read. And his head and hair were white as white wool as snow. It's just telling you the color, man. That's all it's saying. It doesn't mean he's a black man or a white man. It could be red man, all we know. I mean, Adam was probably a red man. Adam means, human or humans or clay or red clay. You know, it depends on the context. So maybe he's red, brown. He doesn't have to be black or white. He can be one of them other colors. Why are we leaving them out? You know, he can be yellow, red, brown, just as well as white or black. Everything doesn't just encompass white and black. Now here's the Ancient of Day photo. They got him up on his cloud here, I guess, what he's on. He's got his white hair, white beard, but his face ain't white, like snow or wool, white wool. Just around here is his face. It doesn't really. It says it's white. So I don't think you can put a color on his face, according to what we just read. This is the Ancient of Days here now, that we read about in Daniel. Pretty much the same description. And here's, of course, the scrolls that were open in front of him. So people just, if they try to state it to exactly the way Scripture's describing it, they can't do it. They just can't. This seems to be too hard for them. They got to make it lean toward their perspective or toward their race or their nationality, what they want him to look like, so it makes them look better somehow in their mind. I guess, I don't know. There's one of the Ancient of Days. That's who they're saying this is. See? Revelations 1:14. We just read it. They're basing this picture on Revelations 1:14. Don't say nothing like that. The white hair, okay, his eyebrow, his beard, that's all cool. I can go live with that. But it says his head is white, not black. They got his eyes red. See that? But it doesn't say he's got red eyes. He says the eyes like fire. Yeah, and his eyes is a flame of fire. To me, like the burning bush. You know what I'm saying? Not red-eyed, like he ain't slept for 10,000 years or something. They don't say nothing about him having a crown of thorns on his head. That was the incarnation that had that. This crown here. I don't think he's going to be coming back with a crown of thorns on his head, people. He's going to come back with a gold. If he's got a crown on his head, it's going to be a golden crown with jewels and stuff in it. He's coming back as the sovereign of sovereigns and the master of masters. He ain't coming back as no servant or no slave or nobody that's being wrongfully executed with a crown of thorns on his head. He ain't gonna come back like that. No way. So that this picture's out, man. This is totally streamed up, just like all the other ones we saw. Just like every other one. Here's a better close-up of his eyes. Okay, they've giving him red eyeballs. Yeah, I don't know. Here's another photo of the Ancient of Days. This is a real famous painting, actually. Look at that. The white hair and the white beard is probably correct, and his face is somewhat white, but he doesn't have fiery eyes, you know. Now, I don't know what he's sitting on here. Is this supposed to be the moon or the sun or something? This looks more like a picture of Zeus or Apollo to me. See what I'm saying? This has got some kind of Greco-Latin influence right here. For some reason, I'm just not seeing the Ancient of Days looking like this. This has got pagan background to it. What do you think? I don't like the fact they got him sitting in the sun like that. That points the sun worship. Here's another one. I guess they got him sitting on the throne here. Surrounded by messengers with wings. I guess these are all the people down here getting ready to be judged. So this must be judgment, the white throne judgment day. The problem is, throne ain't white. I can tell. Looks orange and yellow. He's in a white robe. He's got white hair and a white beard and white eyebrows, and his face is white. But it says his whole head is white as snow. It doesn't say it looks like a Caucasian man. It says his face, his head, and his hair is white as wool and as snow. As snow. So he should be glowing white, or at least as white as snow, his entire face. Not Caucasian man looking on his face. See, so they even the Ancient of Days and Messiah, they make them to be the way they want them to be. You know, that's what they're doing. It's their influence and putting their personal influence into it. Well, that sure reminds me of something. Anyway, obviously by now, folks, we should be able to recognize that this new fad or religion, whatever you want to call it, is just another man-made tradition or religion that thrives on men's fears. It is nothing more than another deception based on made-up myths, futility, and falsehood. Scripture is very clear, folks. Yahushua doesn't care about what we look like. He only wants our obedience and love. And so we should reciprocate or imitate the same values as Yahushua has by not caring about what our other body members look like or what Yahushua looks like either, as far as that goes, or the Ancient of Days. Scripture gives us a little bit of insight on it, and that's it. You know, we don't add to that. We just take it for what it says. That's a little bit. That's all we know. That's all we need to say. No more, no less. We should only desire to honor, serve, praise, and worship Yahuwah and Yahushua as one body in unity. for all that he has done for us. We don't have the right to divide him or depict him the way we want him to look. Stop it. Stop drawing pictures of him and images and bowing down to him and telling people that this is what he looks like. And because they're saying that because that's their color. He's our color. That's crazy, man. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop dividing the body of Yahusha. And stop dividing Yahusha and Yahuwah. And stop dividing the word of truth. Unite as one body under one Yahuwah. Just remember, folks, you are unique because he made you the way you are. I have no doubt in my mind that Yahuwah loves you with an everlasting love, just the way you are, and neither should you. Instead of concerning yourself with what color skin the original Hebrews or Yahusha had, try praying to Yahuwah with perfect and pure prayer. And then sit back silently and see what he does in your life. Peace and love to everyone. And remember, we are all one body, united under or in Yahushua Mashiach, regardless of race, nationality, sex, or skin color. There is another description of Yahushua which we are given in Scripture. But most people fail to understand that the one on the throne, who Scripture says is the Creator in Revelations 4, is none other than Yahushua HaMashiach. Because Yahushua is Yahuwah incarnated. Yahushua was the incarnation, okay, who came in the name of Yahuwah. So Yahuwah will not share his esteem with another. Therefore, this incarnation came in his own name. But Yahuwah called him son, because he came from the loins of a woman, from the womb of a woman, and would soon die. But his spirit inside the incarnation was Yahuwah, spirit alone. That was it. So Yahuwah did not die on the stake, but he shed or disrobed himself of his flesh at the point of death, of the flesh dying. The reason most people fail to realize that the one on the one throne is Yahushua is because they fail to realize that Yahushua is Yahuwah incarnated. The one on the throne is referred to as the Ancient of Days as well. So there's no division. They're all Yahuwah in different roles, perhaps. Nevertheless, they're all Yahuwah. So let's read what Scripture reveals about the one on the throne, better known as the Ancient of Days, and see if we can understand the description given to us concerning his physical appearance. We'll find that in Revelations 4. It says, In this I looked, and I saw a door having been opened in the heaven. And the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, Come up here, and I shall show you what has to take place after this. And immediately I came to be in the Spirit, or the Ruach, and saw a throne set in the heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a ruby stone in appearance. And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald in appearance. And around the throne were 24 elders, and on the thrones I saw 24 elders sitting, dressed in white robes, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And out of the throne came lightnings and thunders and voices, and 7 lamps of fire were burning before the throne, which are the 7 winds of Yahuwah. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like crystal. And in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, covered with eyes in front and in back. These are the seraphim. And the first living creature was like a lion, and the second living creature was like a calf, and the third living creature had a face like a man, and the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. And the 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were covered with eyes around and within, and they do not cease day or night, saying, Kadesh, 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 Yahuwah al Shaddai, who was, and who is to come. Now when the living creatures give esteem and respect and thanks to him who sits on the throne, who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne, and bow before him who lives forever and ever. And they cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, Yahuwah, to receive esteem and respect and power, for you have created all, and because of your desire they are and were created. So here we find out that the one sitting on the one throne is the Creator. And if you've ever read John 1, you will have no doubt in your mind that who the Creator is the Word. So all that is in reference to Yahuwah. They've even got portraits of his throne and the one sitting on the throne. Okay? Now how they're getting, what they're getting out of it when they start dividing him, the one on the throne himself, it's nothing short of blasphemy to me. But there's one that this one's kind of cool looking, but inaccurate. Ever see glass is supposed to be like crystal, but see, this is all blue. I guess that's the Ancient of Days right there, or Yahuwah, sitting on the throne. He's all white. I mean, that would kind of go along with the description, I guess. But the rest of this don't make much sense because it's all blue, like a sapphire or something. Pretty picture, but I would say inaccurate based on what we just read. Now this one is his throne. Now he's a bright light. Now that might be the most accurate thing we've seen so far, because it says he's a spirit indwelling in unapproachable light. It looks pretty unapproachable to me. Here's the scrolls that are around his throne. The scroll of life, the scroll of the Lamb, book of life, and the book of remembrance, and probably everything you've ever done or said has been recorded up there too. We definitely won't have an excuse on Judgment Day. You just have to throw yourself on the mercy of the courts. But this, to me, this isn't what we just read. Doesn't sound like it to me. Because where's the elders? Where's the creatures? A lot of things missing. I like the bright light though, because that may be as accurate as we've seen. But the rest of it is just somebody's imagination, because it doesn't go along with what we just read. Now this picture is interesting because it is pretty accurate, for what I can tell. Although I don't like images at all. I don't think we should make any images or paintings of anything, because we just don't really know. We're only giving us a little bit of information about it. With what we just read, this is pretty accurate. You got, here he is, Ancient of Days, Yahuwah, the bright light, white light like that. I like that. That's what I imagine him to look like myself. Okay, it's that. And here's the emerald, and here's your four creatures with the wings and the eyes all around them. And here's your elders with the crowns on their head, dressed in white. So this ain't deadly accurate, but it seems to be more closer to what we just read than anything else we saw, really. But there's only one throne, and one sitting on that throne. Now, with that said, I believe that's pretty much all metaphoric, because Yahuwah is in us and we're in him. He's everywhere. He's as close as our breath. He knows that he's counts the hair on your head. I mean, he's everywhere. He's omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. All powerful, everywhere present, and all knowing. So he's everywhere. I mean, if you can, and matter of fact, if you can, handle it, we're actually breathing him in and out right now. He's the very air we breathe. Breathe on me, Yahuwah. It's without him, we wouldn't be alive. He keeps us. He sustains us. Every breath we take, it's because Yahuwah has given us that breath. He wakes us up in the morning, puts us to bed at night, So, he ain't in a far, far, far away place called heaven sitting on a throne like they're showing. It's metaphoric. So those pictures are images of the metaphor. So when I say it's as close as we've seen described in the scriptures, I mean it's as close as the metaphor that we're given in scriptures. It's like this, the reason he came as the Son in incarnation is so that for us to be able to understand. Okay, it was for us to understand what's going on. All right, and so the metaphors, I think, are given to us in a similar way so that we will understand. It's being given on our level so that our minds can process. And it's easier for us to process that he's on the throne up in the heavens, sitting on a throne, control everything from the throne, than it is for us to visualize he's the air that we're breathing in and out. He's in everything, and everything's in him, including time, space, utensils, infinity, everything you can think of. It's hard for humans to wrap their mind around that kind of knowledge. So anyways, thank you for watching, and stay in love with Yahusha. So long.
living water. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, living water. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my Yah. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my Yah. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem